Good Tuesday morning, and thank you for joining us here on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get to your headlines. Minnesota waking up to a new budget passed in the wee hours of the morning, and lawmakers got the job done with some time to spare before that 7 a.m. deadline. Michelle Beck has been at the Capitol all night, where she reports things got emotional at times.
Oh yeah, Alicia, so many different emotions here. We just witnessed a 16-hour-long marathon that ended when the Senate adjourned from these very chambers nearing 2 this morning. And two big takeaways this morning. One, the state now has a budget, a $66 billion budget now in place. And two, the government will not be shutting down. That's huge. So here is how it happened. I heard leaders from both parties and chambers use the word compromise. Yet the special session wasn't without contention either, especially in the House over the first of 15 bills it tackled. Lawmakers spent 4 hours debating the GOP priority to remove undocumented adults from state health care. At the end, Melissa Hortman cast the lone DFL vote in the House as part of an agreement to move the rest of the budget forward.
What I worry about is the people who will lose their health insurance. I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we tried any other way we could to come to a budget agreement with Republicans, and they wouldn't have it. So, you know, I did what leaders do. I stepped up and I got the job done for the people of Minnesota.
We knew that was going to be a hard decision, but when we looked at it and made the decisions that we needed to, also including a compromise of keeping undocumented children on until age 18, we knew it was going to be hard, but we were able to get that work done.
Lawmakers left overnight knowing there's a chance they could come back in the fall. There's a state budget concern over potential Medicaid funding cuts from the federal government. Otherwise, lawmakers would return next February. Back to you.
Just into the newsroom this morning, 10 people are dead after a shooting at a school in Austria. Several other people were also hurt. Police say the suspected shooter is among the dead and there is no longer any danger to the public. There's still no word on who the alleged shooter was or their motive in the shooting. Officials have scheduled a news conference for later today to release more details. Happening right now, hundreds of Marines are on their way to Los Angeles. They were ordered there by President Trump as protests against immigration enforcement ramps up across the city. The rare move to send military personnel comes as the war of words ramps up between the president and the governor of California. NBC's Chris Pallone has the latest details from Washington.
Clashes between police and protesters have spilled a fifth straight day after federal agents have spent much of the past week rounding up hundreds of migrants across the Los Angeles region at their places of work. After another night of skirmishes between protesters and police, 700 active duty Marines are joining the effort to quell the violence that erupted over the weekend in downtown Los Angeles, sent there by President Trump.
I think it would have been a very bad situation. It was heading in the wrong direction. It's now heading in the right direction.
The Marines joined thousands of National Guard troops called up against the wishes of California Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass.
There was no reason for them to be here in the first place. If anything, it was a provocation.
California now asking the courts to send the military home.
Trump and Hegseth ignored law enforcement's expertise and guidance and trampled over our state's, California's, sovereignty.
The city was burning. Governor Newsom did nothing. The mayor did nothing. So President Trump, God bless him, he sent the National Guard in to save property and save lives.
Mayor Bass now urging the Trump administration to stop the immigration raids taking place throughout the area, which sparked the violent protests.
These raids do not need to take place. You are talking about people's places of work. You're talking about schools.
On Capitol Hill, disagreement over whether the military presence is helping or hurting.
Clearly the state needs help and the president's sending help. Hopefully it'll bring some peace.
These people have zero credibility on the other side of the aisle when it comes to issues of law and order.
A war of words over how best to keep the peace. The last time active duty Marines were deployed on U.S. soil, 1992, during the Los Angeles riots, which erupted when 4 LAPD officers were acquitted for the beating of Rodney King. In Washington, Chris Pallone, now back to you.
And across the country, thousands are showing up for protests against immigration enforcement, saying they need to protect their immigrant communities.
We're standing in solidarity right now with thousands of workers across the country in over 20 different cities to demand an end to the ICE raids.
Police in multiple cities say they've arrested rally-goers for alleged legal violations. The White House border czar saying this morning he thinks ICE should expand its efforts. A check of the markets this morning as the U.S. and China begin day 2 of talks to end a trade war between the countries. You see the Dow down there slightly. No major movement between the two sides in the last 24 hours. We're in the midst of a 90-day tariff de-escalation. For now, U.S. duties on Chinese imports are at 30% instead of 145, and China's rate is down to 10% from 125. And if you're in the market to build a new home soon, listen up to this. New numbers are showing the impacts of steel and aluminum tariffs on home building in the Twin Cities. According to the Keystone Report, 612 permits were issued last month in the metro, which is down 14% compared to the same time last year. A majority of those permits were for single-family houses, with just 22 permits issued for multifamily builds. Nick Erickson with Housing First Minnesota expects smaller projects to be impacted as well.
Your nails, your screws, your HVAC ductwork, a lot of the appliances, your garage door, if you have a steel exterior door, all of that will be impacted. You know, state, local, federal government has to start realizing that their policies are having an adverse impact on the cost of housing.
Home building experts say higher interest rates, zoning policies, and permitting requirements are also adding extra costs for consumers and construction companies. A heads up if you get your prescriptions from a Cub pharmacy. The parent company of Cub Foods was hit by an apparent cyber attack, forcing them to take some of their systems offline. So that includes some pharmacy systems. So Cub is now asking those who need to fill a prescription to get that done at another pharmacy retailer. Cub hasn't released a list of which pharmacies are impacted here. A look from Capitol Hill this morning, where this week Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth will be in the spotlight. He's testifying at a series of congressional hearings, one of them about Signalgate. That's the text chain where Hegseth and other national security officials discussed detailed military plans that included a prominent journalist. Hegseth will likely also face questions about his plan to mobilize Marines to Los Angeles. His first hearing is set for Thursday. Developing this morning, a surprise vote in the Prior Lake Savage Area School Board. They agreed to dismantle its longtime equity and inclusion plan. The resolution was adopted in 2020 after the killing of George Floyd and several racist incidents that were investigated in the district. However, it never mandated any initiatives or programs. Still, some board members argue it has become divisive, while others say it affirms a set of values.
This board let the resolution gather dust. It is only now an issue because certain people in our community clamor to remove any mention of equity.
Now, the vote comes amidst the Trump administration's move to end diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, calling them wasteful. Well, come take a look at your screen right now. More than 3 million of these Bowflex dumbbells are being recalled after more than 100 reports of injuries. The recall includes the 552 model and the 1090 model. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says the weights can become dislodged and have led to broken toes and concussions. The dumbbells were sold in stores as well as online on Amazon and the Bowflex website. Consumers are urged to immediately stop using the dumbbells and seek a replacement or a refund. Well, just in this morning, the highly anticipated Great River Children's Museum is officially open in St. Cloud. Here's a small taste of what you can expect.
Come climb, splash, build, and explore. A hands-on exhibit made for kids and big grown-ups. Get ready to play! Learn and explore together.
So adorable. You heard them right there. The facility features 8 interactive exhibits. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up right after the break.